I made the mistake of checking out Jesus Freak's channel just to see if there's anything freaky there. His last video was just amazing. Really 21st century enlightenment. So anyway, he's basically arguing with Lucy Green or whatever about the, gay marriage stuff. And he is speculating on why our government subsidizes married couples.
Is because the United States government is not in the business of blessing marriages. They don't really care if Jack and Jill get married and live happily ever after. What they do care about is that Jack and Jill have children. There are countries now that are suffering.
So he's contending that our tradition of our government subsidizing married couples, unions, is somehow related to desire by the government to create population. That's his insane and insipid argument. He's totally ignoring that when our Constitution was written, women couldn't own property. They essentially had to be dependent on some male, or they had no life, no way to maintain their life. It's just completely idiotic.
Bring big time. Their economies are very stagnant because there has been a greatly reduced influx of new life. So these countries have offered major discounts, tax breaks, even cash payouts to families that will simply have children.
Yeah, I don't know what country that is. Most countries realize that the game's over. The growing your population thing isn't going to work anymore. I mean, you can't be this fucktarded. You actually think it's in the best interest of the human race to create more population, to keep growing every society on this earth, right? I mean, we are facing peak oil. If it wasn't for our economic disaster, oil would be at $150 a barrel. All right, the rest of the world can't industrialize because of this energy crisis. On top of it, we've got this pollution problem that's just looming, just sitting out there waiting to be another, perfect storm, third element to this disaster. And a fucktard like you thinks the human race needs more babies. You're actually this fucking stupid.
Our government realizes by bringing in new potential taxpayers, you increase the longevity of this great nation.
How is it in our best interest to be dependent on growth? The idea is to be self-sufficient. The idea is to have an economy that's not dependent on artificial growth, but is that lives and thrives on its own productivity. Okay, on making itself not disposable, on making itself enduring. I mean, I just can't believe you can be this stupid. I mean, it's bad enough that you will buy some fairy tale where, Noah lived 800 years and only had 7 kids. You'll believe that kind of nonsense. All right, and this is just you are the blueprint of human disaster. You are why the human race will fail. You are why there will be a disaster, because you can't even use a piece of your brain to be even a little tiny bit reasonable. Instead, you will read your 2,000-year-old bullshit book and say somehow it has the answers. A book written by people who didn't know what a virus was, didn't know what a microbe was, didn't know what DNA was, and you're going to inject that as the solution to the crisis we're fucking in.
So our U.S. government is going to endorse heterosexual marriage because it is in the best interest of the United States of America.
You're just so full of crap. Who do you think's making those decisions? The reason why we subsidize marriages is because the majority of people happen to be in those contracts. Okay, and the majority has complete control over our democracy because we have the same majority gets to win every election in every state, in every county. All right, so all 500 congressmen belong to the majority. All senators belong to the majority. The president belongs to the majority. All right, and that's why we have policies like that. Not because it's written in the Constitution somewhere. The Constitution doesn't say any of this crap you're speaking. It doesn't say anything about that. What it does talk about is principles like equal protection of the law, and when the Supreme Court actually had intellectuals on it, they demanded things like equitable distribution of the tax burden. All right, and you think you're entitled to have children. Why? Because you believe in your dogma book and you think our government sanctions that? No, our government just is made up of self-interested assholes, okay? Self-interested assholes vote in their own self-interest because they have no principles. But it's nowhere in our Constitution, you dumb fuck.
To continue having children, to bring taxpayers into the tax base. Now,
children don't pay taxes, idiot. And as I stated, what is your end game plan here? How do you avoid Soylent Green, idiot? You think a country can just keep growing? How many people do you think planet Earth can sustain in a decent state of living? I mean, you really are just like Jesus, right? I mean, Jesus just said, oh, the poor will be with you always. Well, you're guaranteeing that scenario. You're guaranteeing there won't be just 2 million kids going blind because of a lack of vitamin A tomorrow. There'll be 4 million, all right? And that's the ethics of your fucking God. Where is your fucking God, Jesus freak? Where is he when the plagues hit and when the blight hits and when the famine hits? Where's your fucking God going to be? He's going to be non-existent. He's not going to show up again. And assholes like you with your stupid solution, just have more babies. That's the solution. Yeah, that'll fix everything. More burden, more investment. Yeah, that's the solution. Sorry. Dumb fucking answer.
you want U.S. government to cease endorsing marriage. Well, if they do what you say and they stop endorsing marriage and they stop giving tax breaks to married couples.
Yeah, the only break they should give married couples is the break that comes with the burdens of a relationship where people play roles. So if there's a person who's doing the income earning and a person who's doing the lifestyle maintaining, obviously you have to protect the Social Security interests of the person doing the lifestyle maintaining in case all of a sudden after 20 years of taking care of somebody, they're out of luck. All right, so yeah, there needs to be some protections for people who play roles in whatever, relationship contracts. And government has some responsibility to make sure people aren't screwed because they get into a relationship where they play a role. All right, but that's it. That's the extent of the governmental responsibility. That's all. That's the end of it. The end. No other responsibility. In a secular, rational society, your dogma has no place in my law.
And such, and they start giving these breaks to, what, homosexual couples under civil unions. How does that increase the influx of life into this?
Like I said, where does it say in the Constitution? It doesn't say be fruitful and multiply in the United States Constitution. So what are you, the simple equation is that homosexual couples are entitled to the same protections for people playing roles in those relationships as people playing roles in heterosexual relationships are entitled to some protections of their future welfare. The end.
Nation. It doesn't. So basically, you would argue that, one would have to argue that you would give civil unions no tax break, because the tax break is all about procreation. And
yeah, well, the tax break, like I said, should not exist. The only thing that should exist is a protection for somebody's pension and Social Security rights. But other than that, lifestyle shouldn't be subsidized. And children, perhaps a first child can be subsidized by government, but every child after that, the burden should be falling on the people deciding to have children. Why should your reproductive decisions be somebody else's responsibility? There's nothing in civil law where that makes any sense whatsoever. There's nothing in constitutional principle that makes that make any sense whatsoever. Okay, the fact of the matter is you are not a person who believes in that respects the rights of individuals to think differently than yourself. and invest their own life and their own welfare in their own judgment without you deciding you're going to pick their fucking pocket because your dogma says so? Fuck you.
I do agree with separation of church and state to a large degree.
Bullshit.
But I believe that quite often people misuse that argument, just like Lacey has. Oh, separation.
Yeah, right. She's misused it because she hasn't declared your religious notions as being valid to be imposed on other people through your majoritarian dictatorship, and that's what it is. You're too cowardly to have a fair democracy, a real representative democracy, where people on the floor of the Congress, atheists, can call your policy exactly what it is. Sick, unfair, tyrannical. Fuck you.